The subject here is layers basics because we have to start somewhere. I'm going to open up this particular image from Bridge into Photoshop. Now as soon as we do that, the picture will always appear on screen something like this. I tend to reach for Control 0 because I do like to see my images as large as my screen can allow them to be. But over on the right hand side I've got the layers popped out from the panel on the right, and we can see both the thumbnail, we can see the default name, which is background in italics, and we also notice that the layer has a lock. So what does that lock actually tell us? Well, in fact, the image we're viewing on screen is made up of two parts. We have the canvas that the image is sitting on, and then we have the image itself. Now we can think of both of them as being locked together, and that's what the padlock to the right of the thumbnail is telling us. If I pick up my Move tool, which is at the top of the toolbox, and I try to move the image away from its canvas with a click and drag, which I'll do right now, it won't move, and Photoshop is going to throw up a small window asking us what we want to do. So what the panel is actually saying to us here is you cannot click and drag the image away from your canvas because the two are locked together. But then it's saying to me, would you like me to convert this to a normal layer for you? Now when I click on that option, it's going to do just that. It's going to remove the lock to the right of the thumbnail, and it's very likely going to move the image a little bit to the degree that I actually clicked and dragged a few moments ago. Let's test it by just clicking Convert to a normal layer. And there you can see exactly what I mean. Now as you can see by the spinning round of the screen, I've reverted to my original image and reopened it from Bridge, and as you can see, as before, it's opened up as a locked background. What I can do now is simply go to the layers, and I can unlock it manually by just clicking the lock, and the lock disappears. The name changes to layer 0, and with the Move tool selected I can move my image around the screen. I'll move it back into position, and you will notice lots of little pink lines appearing. We'll talk more about those just a little bit later. I can always relock the layer by going to the layers palette at the top left of the screen. Let's do that quickly. If I go to layer, new, there we have background from layer. There you can see the lock has been reapplied, and once again if I wanted to move the image, it's telling us we can't do that. I'll cancel that and I'll remove my lock once more. So if unlocking this particular layer separates the image from the canvas, if we go to our image menu, and I'll do that straight away via image size, what I should be able to do in the image size palette is to reduce the size of the image, and it should be smaller than the canvas it's sitting on. Well, let's test that theory. You can see I've got mine set to measure in inches, but it doesn't matter for what I'm about to do. So let's say I'm going to reduce the size of this image to half. Let's make it 10 inches and I'll click OK. Well, we notice that the image has changed size, but so has the canvas with it. And when I click and drag, we can see that's exactly what's happened, and I do still have my canvas and image as separate parts. But of course, if we reduce the size of the image, the canvas cannot be smaller than the image. Now as you can see here, I've reinstated my image back to its original size, but we still have the lock removed. Let me go to my image menu, and this time I'm going to choose canvas size. You can see we've got the choice of both. When the canvas size arrives on screen, I'm going to do much the same as I did before. I'm just going to drop the width from 20 inches down to 10 and click OK. and immediately we get a little warning message, and it's saying that the new canvas size is smaller than the current canvas size. Some clipping will occur. What does it mean by clipping? Well, we're going to see that when I click proceed. There we can see that if we're asking Photoshop to put that large image on a much smaller canvas, it can't display the entire image. But in actual fact, the entire image is still there. And if I were to use my move tool now and click and drag, there you can see we actually have all of the image. It just can't be displayed to us because the canvas size is too small. But I can always undo that using my undo history. If we were to change the canvas size and increase it, then we'd see something different. Or if we chose to reduce the size of the image, maybe using a different method, something like the free transform tool, then once again we'd see something different. Let's go to the canvas size first. I'm going to go up to the image menu once again, image, canvas size. What I'm going to do with the canvas size window this time, just for speed, I'm going to tick the little box that says relative. When I do that, it enables me to say, please just put 4 inches on the width and 4 inches on the height, and this anchor box tells Photoshop to just leave the image 4 square in the middle. So when I click OK, first thing that happens is we start to see something around the outer edge. We're not seeing all of the image here, so I'll hit Control 0 and you can see what I've just done. What I've effectively done, of course, is to say to Photoshop, leave the image size as it was, just give me a bigger canvas for it to sit on. And because I had unlocked the layer on the right hand side, the area that it's showing me around the outer edge is completely transparent, and we can see that because it's showing it to us with these blue and white squares. Of course, I can still click the picture and move it anywhere on the canvas that I want. In fact, I can move it right off the canvas, although I'm not entirely sure what good that would do. And as I bring it back into the center, you can see the smart guides are allowing it to snap as if by magic, as if it's magnetic. It's snapped back into the perfect central position. Now, just for speed, I'm going to hit the F12 key. It's quite a useful key to hit because all it does is it takes us back to the last saved version of this image. So as you can see, it's opened up with the lock and the background name in place, but it's very quick for me to just remove it, because I'd like to demonstrate changing the image size now and leaving the canvas as it is. Now, we've done that once using the image size menu, and when we do it that way, the canvas is reduced too. But if we go to our edit menu and we choose our transform tool, and the free transform is probably the best bet for this, Control T, you'll notice a bounding box around the outer edge. Well, we can distort the image with this, so I want to make sure that when I drag a corner toggle here and make the image smaller, that the width and the height remain in register. So I'm just going to click the little chain link which is up on the options at the top of the screen. So when I click and drag, well, you can see exactly what's happening. When I get the image to the size I want it, I can hit the enter key or the tick on the options bar, and as we now know, the smart guides would come into play and allow me to drag this to the center, snap and snap. Now, those smart guides that we've seen pop up as pink lines, they are turned on by default, and they're going to save us quite a bit of time as we go through some of the projects here. As you've seen, they work a little bit like a magnet, just snapping the image into position, but they do have more to offer than just centering an image as we've just done here. Now, those smart guides are turned on by default, but we will only see them when we've got an unlocked layer such as this, where we're moving an image over the top of the canvas. And as long as we move it slowly, if I take it up to the top, there it's snapped into position. Now if I drag it down, it snaps again. Bang, right in the middle of the canvas. If we'd like to retain the way this image has been created at the moment, with an image smaller than the canvas it's sitting on, then we have to save this as a Photoshop file. If I saved it as a JPEG, the JPEG will automatically flatten those two layers together. I can simulate that by just going to the top right of the layers here and choosing Flatten Image. And you can see what it does. It uses the background color in my color picker, and in my case it was white, and it's actually placed the image over that. But you can see the layer now has the name returned as background, and it's relocked. The only way I can come back away from this is by using my undo history, because if I remove the lock now, then Photoshop sees the image as the image in its entirety, which includes the content in the middle and also the border. So what I'd have to do here is go back to my undo history if I had made a mistake or I changed my mind, and I would have to go back to just before I flatten my image, and there we have the image floating on a transparent canvas, the image slightly smaller than the canvas. So what we've just seen here, with removing the lock, separating the canvas from the image, is the basis behind layers really. We're going to see this quite a bit. So it makes sense to start off with something that we're going to be seeing practically all of the time. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and the fact you're still watching at the end is a good sign. But I suppose it will depend on your general knowledge of layers, but there's generally something we can learn from almost any video.